Hello, viewers. Thank you very much for watching GIFT TV. This lesson, we'll be looking at the part 6 of the literature review discussion, specifically how to write the actual literature review chapter in your project. Let's dive into it. Are you looking for information about how to write your actual literature review chapter and you are struggling or stressed? Please struggle no more because GIFT TV is here to assist. After this lesson, it is my hope that you understand how to write the actual literature review chapter in your dissertation or thesis or your research project. So let's get started. How to write your literature review session or chapter in your project. Like any other academic test, your literature review should have the following component: introduction, the main body, and that of the conclusion. Know that the information that goes into each component, being it the introduction or the main body or the conclusion, depends on the objective or the function of your literature review. Refer to the previous lessons where we discussed the various functions of the literature review. It doesn't matter the type of academic writing you are looking at, whether it's an article, dissertation, thesis, or research project. It's a good idea to have this component: introduction, main body, and conclusion. Let's look into the introduction. The introduction should clearly establish the focus and purpose of the literature review. It must also contain a brief outline of the themes, concepts your readers should expect in the chapter. Let's take, for example, for the case of the dissertation or thesis literature review. If you are writing the literature review as part of your dissertation or thesis, reiterate your central problem or the research question and give a brief summary of the scholarly context. So here is a good idea to outline all the themes or the headings that you'll be discussed in the chapter. You can emphasize the timelines of the topic. For example, many recent studies have focused on problem of X, or you can highlight a gap in the literature in a sentence as part of the introduction. For example, while there has been much research on X, few researchers have taken Y into consideration. So you give an idea about, or the readers a heads up about what they should expect in the entire discussion, because once you highlight the gap, it helps them appreciate the significance of your analysis of the entire literature review. For the case of a standalone literature review, if you are writing a standalone paper, give some background on the topic and its importance. Discuss the scope of the literature review you will embark on. For example, the time period for your sources, and state your objective as well. Also, tell readers what new insight you have drawn from the literature. It's very important to discuss these things in the introduction session. With regards to the main body, depending on the length of your literature review, you might want to divide the body into subsections or headings. You can use a subheadings for each theme, time periods, or the methodological approach. As you write, you can follow these tips. 1, summarize and synthesize. 2, analyze and interpret. 3, critically evaluate. And 4, write in a well-structured paragraph. Let's get into each of them. Summarize and synthesize. That is, try to give an overview of the main points of each source and combine them into a coherent whole. For the case of analyze and interpret, please don't just paraphrase other researchers, but add your own interpretation where possible. And also discussing the significance of the findings in relation to the literature as a whole. It's very important. Next, critically evaluate. Here, try to mention the strengths and weaknesses of your sources. It is a good practice. Then lastly, write in a well-structured paragraphs. What do you mean by this? Use transition words. The key is use transition words. Paragraphs, okay? And topic sentence to draw connections, comparison, and contrast. It's a good practice, and this will even help you to differentiate a graduate level writing from undergraduate level writing. It's very important. Know when to use transition words and know when to also give paragraphs. It's very important. Conclusion. In the conclusion, you should summarize the key findings you have taken from the literature and emphasize their significance. For the case of the dissertation literature review, if the literature review is part of your thesis or dissertation, show how your research addresses gaps and contribute to new knowledge, or discuss how you have drawn on existing theories and methods to build a framework for your study. As you saw from the case of the conceptual framework, you need to tell readers about how you arrive at that. Sometimes this session is titled Chapter Summary and Literature Gap. You look at most of the dissertations, you see that the conclusion part is titled Chapter Summary and Literature Gap because it gives you an overview, okay, summary of the entire review, and then also help you to situate the gap into the conclusion part as well. For a standalone literature review, if you are writing a standalone paper, you can discuss the overall implications of the literature or make suggestions for future research based on the gaps you have identified. In conclusion, it is a good idea to organize your literature review into the following sessions. 1, introduction. 2, main body, where you can combine either the thematic approach or chronological or the theological, or maybe you can combine one or two of them or utilize each separately, depending on the style you want to use. Then also have your conclusion. Thank you very much for subscribing to GIFT TV. I will see you all in the next video.